Hey everyone, finally wrapping up this section on page 263 of Richard Lafleur's Wheelock's Latin Reader. This is the death, and we're finally there, of Pliny the Elder. So we're just talking about his neck, his esophagus that was thin and frequently inflamed, and then ubi, which can mean when or where. In this case it's going to be when. Dies, and that's how we know it's when, the day. And again, this is masculine, fourth declension, singular noun. So it's going to work with reditus, and Lafleur helps us out here that we want to supply est here. Had returned. When day had returned. It, and then this is incredibly confusing in its Latin formulation, but we can do it, and again, Lafleur helps us out here. It from that eo, and what we're talking about with this eo is another da. Again, da, remember that this, even though it's fifth, sorry, I said fourth earlier, I meant fifth declension noun, which are rarely masculine, but dies is. Ab eo, here we have da, from that day. This being from that, which, so this quem going back to the eo, novissime, most recently, most newly, but recent will get us the right translation here. Viderat, so he had seen. What tense is that? Well, video, videre, it's a nice second conjugation, so we would be expecting an E in there elsewise. But then we get in the third principal part, this vidi. I came, I saw, I conquered, vidi, vici, or veni, vici. I came, I saw, I conquered. The famous Caesar expression. Here we have this again, third principal part, we drop the I, we add this erat ending, that's going to be telling us that we're in the pluperfect. So this being from that day which he had most recently seen the sun, or seen the daylight, because there really hasn't been any daylight because of the eruption, the third. And remember, this is counting inclusively. So the place, as we had seen earlier, Mount Vesuvius erupts on the 24th, and he heads out. He spends the 25th day at Stabii, and then he tries to check things out, see if there's an escape, but has to lie down, and we don't really hear what happens after that. We just know that he's requesting water and not doing so well. So then when the day finally comes, daylight finally comes on the 26th day, or on the 26th of August, this is the third day, and of course we count this as only 2, because we'll count the gaps, but the Romans will count inclusively, 1, 2, 3, to use the Roman numerals. So what we're basically saying is, he last saw the sun on the 24th when the volcano first started erupting. We had a full day in darkness, and now light has returned on the 26th. Corpus, so body, inventum, and again we need a supply, and Lafleur helps us out here, asked. His body was found integral, complete. Not really messed around. He hasn't been broken by anything. That's what we're saying. We found the integral body. And then we have in lysum and opertumque ut fuerat indutus. So Lafleur helps us out again. This is uninjured in lysum, not injured, apertumque, and covered. As, and Lafleur helps us out here, it's nice to have a just as in English here, just as he had been. So that's what fuerat means, because we've got sum, first principal part, esse, the infinitive, then we have fui, that's the third principal part, the perfect I was, in the perfect, not the, we often can say I was with erat, the imperfect, but to do it in a perfect tense we have fui. So then to have fuerat, that's pluperfect, as he had been, as he had been. And then this doesn't work with indutus here, which is a perfect participle and is masculine, singular, nominative, so it could easily, we could imagine having indutus est, he was clothed, or he has been clothed. We could also then put in an erat to make he had been clothed, as he had been clothed, but then that wouldn't be taking care of fuerat. So really, ut fuerat, you can't use this fui form this perfect form with a perfect participle. It's not a complement. It's not an auxiliary verb as we have with something like indutus erat. No, what we have to do here is treat this just as a simple kind of parenthetical. He was uninjured and covered up just as he was clothed, or just as he had been clothed. So we're saying we found him just as he was. Habitus, his appearance, or the appearance of the corporus. So remember that corpus is the neuter singular, and then corporus, that's the noun. So corpus corporis neuter, the appearance of the body was, and here we have to say either historical present est, or maybe using it imperfect erat, that needs to be supplied, was more similar. So this is a comparative. We had similis earlier as something, but this is a comparative. But what are we comparing? Well, we'll see. So it was more similar to quiescenti. We've seen this verb a couple of times now. Quiesco, to rest. So we would, to make that an active participle, we'd have quiescens, the resting man. And if we want to put that into the dative case, which we have here, that's exactly what we would do, add a ti. So what we've got here is quiescenti, to a resting man, quam. Here's our comparative clause. Than, to a, and again, this will be, similis takes a dative, that's why we have quiescenti here. You're similar to someone. So more similar to a resting person than to a defunct person, a deceased. So as when they found him, and this is again kind of praising the death of Pliny the Elder, he wasn't terrified, he didn't look, nothing looked wrong with him. He looked like he was just sleeping, but indeed he had passed away. And as Lafleur points out, this is all to testify to the fact that he probably just suffocated. He was not able to breathe because of the air, his throat became inflamed, and that was really the cause of death. It wasn't volcanic ash. Still not a great way to go, and certainly not the way that we might have expected him to go when pumice stones were falling from the sky and he was being buried and all this. But this was an explosion of volcanic gas, which really ultimately did him in. So a sad ending to Pliny the Elder, but a nicely phrased ending to this passage. I hope this was all very useful. We will finish up this one paragraph that's left in which Pliny wraps up the story, but the narrative is now done. We've gotten to the point where Pliny the Elder has been defunct, even though he looks at this point more like somebody resting. See you in the next video. Hopefully we can take care of the whole thing in that one. See you then.